Hello, the game has started. It's me to go first. This looks a promising rack. I don't think there is a bingo here, but it looks pretty close. I can see angry, leaving ON, not a great rack leave. Or I could play nonary, keeping a G. Or granny, keeping an O. Or I could play a much shorter word. I could play yon or noi. And I think rang is quite a good four-letter rack leave, and by playing a short word I'm not providing many floaters for my opponent, and I'm not providing him access to the double word squares. That is a pretty awful pickup. I've got the one vowel, so I should be able to play through this. The duplicates are unhelpful in this instance. I don't think I have an 8 through any vowels. I can't see a bingo, I'm just mentally going through them. Well, no vowels available. Can't see anything through double O. So I think I can sort this out by playing grands across here. £23 points. That's much better. Can't see a 7 through an I would have Shania. Just looking at the G of grands to see if I've got a bingo. That's been obstructed. Now I do have the H for score. Ob takes an E and an A after it. I don't wish to play off my S now, since I've only got one. Row H is available for a 5-letter play ending in A. And I can't see such a play with this rack. I'd like to play off just the H and the R. Now I'm looking in column 7 to see if I've got a play down here. Both my H and my R can go next to ob. So what if I just played Anna, 11 points. Is that a good idea? Well, it's not giving very much away, and this is quite a good 6-letter rack leave, and I can't see anywhere great for my H, and I'm retaining the A for going in front of the G. On the other hand, 11 points is pretty poor. I'm just wondering about playing in column 5 through the G. But that's not too easy. This is proving to be quite a difficult rack. Gosh, surely I can do better than Anna. I'm just thinking about playing HA down here. 18 points, but the rack leaves poor. I think I will go with this and see what happens. Great, I have Horsen and possibly an anagram of that. Nowhere for it on this board. Maybe my opponent will provide somewhere. Ah, and he's changed. How annoying. So, what is the anagram of Horsen? Is it Sen Hora? If it is, there's still nowhere for it. Rob takes an E and an S, and Noi takes an S. Sen Hora doesn't seem quite right. Maybe it is just Horsen. Well, do I have anything through the G? Can't see anything. Do I have a 5-letter play ending A? Well, not that I can see. This isn't very easy. Well, what about just playing HE down here? £19 points. And an OK rack leave. Maybe Ho would be better. The O is pretty unbingo-y. No, I'll stick with the extra points. Roarings and Garrison, but the G of Grands is in the wrong place. Column 11 is a pretty good bingo lane now. But I can't see a 7 with this rack. And I've got no scoring tiles. Fortunately, my opponent isn't zooming away. There's a lot of tiles, all 9 central squares are occupied. Wow, good score for my opponent. Has he provided anything for me? The floaters are Z and A, not promising. But I should be able to score off the A, and maybe I can score off the Z rather, and maybe I can score off the Z and the A. And I can. I can play Norrie down here, which sorts out the duplicate R as well, and the rack leave is pretty good. 32 points. I'm now 12 points behind, but my opponent's on turn. I've got an A for going after ZO. Can't see a 7 or 8 with this rack. I've got a Farah for playing at H1, a Farah and Ag for 30 points. That will sort the rack out. Now, what if my opponent doesn't take this spot next to ZO? My C could go next to AR. So A, C. Well, it would have to be an S here. And an F could go after AR. Well, I think the best I can do is FAA for 38, which is pretty good. A rack leave of ACRS is good. My opponent does go there, not surprising. Now my F can go after NE, but I would be forced to put my S next to Zol, so I don't have anything up there. This is what I was talking about earlier, and this keeps the board open, and I don't like it getting too tight unless I've got a good lead, and at the moment I'm trailing 30 points. Bit of a horror show. I've got Guck on my rack. Both blanks still to come. Ah, I've got something quite nice. Down from the F, I've got fuck ups, which is going to score quite well. And sort out both U's. Hopefully my opponent will be distracted by this triple word square. If the play I've seen is blocked, I'm struggling for alternatives. Just looking to see if I've got anything in column 14. Ah! My desired play has been taken out. That's a shame because it would have totally sorted my rack out. I'm now trailing by 50 points and I've got a really poor rack. And I'm wondering about changing. I really can't see very much to do with this rack. Certainly nowhere for Guck. Unless I played Gucks and Ags. 18 points. Keeping up. Yeah, that's probably worth doing. Bit of a shame to be burning so many tiles when I'm behind. But at least it increases my chances of drawing a blank. Not good. But by playing, I did get 18 points rather than none, so I'm only 30 points behind my opponent. I could play Fid, where my opponent's played Fi. So, how do I sort this rack out? The whole of the top left of the board is completely unavailable and likely to stay as such. So I could do with opening the board up. It would be nice to play down from the G. 12 minutes on my clock, play down from the G onto this triple word square. And I think Gid Up is good. Quite a few variant spellings of this. Let's see if this stays on. 39 points. Not a great pick. I would have Mitching onto a G. I do have vowels. I do have scoring tiles, which can be good when you're behind. It allows you to score while playing off just a few tiles. Down from the C and the K look quite useful. I don't think Kitsch is good. Great, only 25 points for my opponent. Now row O is available for non-bingos, which reach this triple word square. Can't see one with this rack. 11 minutes on my clock, 33 tiles left. Now my H and M can both go after DA. And is good. So that's 35 points, which is a good score. It's not great keeping duplicate I, but the I goes well with N and C. And I don't have any other vowels. Is there any other way of playing down here? What goes next to DA on my rack? I think it's just the H and the M. Yeah, I think I'll go with this. 4 I's to come, so I could regret this. Well, I don't. I don't draw any vowels, so I'm glad to have the 2 I's. Vint would sort the rack out. I'm now only 1 point behind. So this could be a doer struggle. But with 2 blanks, whoever gets the first bingo is likely to be in a strong position. I've got Inviter in column 4, which sorts out the duplicates and burns the V. 20 points. And that would also open up the top of the board, which would stop the game from being completely strangled. HM takes an O. Great, Inviter stays available, and, more importantly, my opponent scores dismally. Well, fairly poorly. Of course, he may have kept a 5-letter powerhouse of a rack lead. So, I've seen Inviter. Is there anything else? Just looking at these 2-letter sets down here. Can't see anything. Inviter for 20. Still no blank. Only 24 tiles in the bag. Quite a good rack. I think contract might actually be good, but I can't see anywhere for it. Traction works with an eye, but the eyes of Inviter are not in the right spot. And Contrate is good onto an E. Again, nothing available. Can't see anything through the floaters of Inviter. Carno tight is good. Through an I blank E. Can't see anything on beginning with this G or OG. So at the moment I've seen nothing. But I've got a 3-point lead. My opponent's on turn. Remaining tiles quite bingo-y, especially with the 2 blanks. If my opponent doesn't bingo, he'll probably play a round Inviter, and then I may well be able to play around here as well. Only 22 points for my opponent. That's good. Now, do I have anything through the J? K-John, yes. Fantastic. It's keeping double T, but there's no T's to come, and in any event, this is a good score. And in a duo struggle, good scores can lead you to win without needing to bingo. 45 points is a great score. Ah, still no blank. Still no blank. My opponent could easily have one or both of them, and there are bingo lanes on this board. He plays off 1 tile. 9 minutes on my clock. I've got the V and the U, which is a bad combination. So far I've been able to keep scoring well, but I'm only 6 points ahead. At least my opponent hasn't headed off into the hills. But what to do here? Really awful rack. And a tricky board. My T can go after join. But I can't even see a 3-letter play down here. Well, I'm thinking about changing with these blanks out there. 8 minutes on my clock. Can't see anything through Zol. I could play jointure. 15 points. Leaving VRT. Tempting. Because I am still scoring. And the risk about changing is that I score nothing and my opponent wins without either of us bingoing. The danger of jointure is it's opening up column 8. But of the high-scoring tiles, there's only W's and D's, so I'm not going to be massively punished. Still no blank. And if my opponent has got the blanks, this isn't going to be helpful for him. And it gives me, if he bingos, I do at least have here for score. Close to Ev Eternal, I would need an A in the right spot for that. Can't see anything beginning with the G. Can't see any 7s with this rack. I would have interval through an A. So if my opponent does bingo, he may provide a floater in the right spot, but it's unlikely. I've got a 22-point lead, which is better than being behind. 7 minutes on my clock, 12 tiles in the bag. Varna is good, but nothing goes in front of Q or Tune. But a play of just Varna keeps quite a good 6-letter set. Now what if column 8 remains available? Well, I've got Vlei, V-L-E-I, 24 points, keeping rent, that's pretty good. I can't see anything which... but I can. I've got E-Rev for 33, keeping lint. And that's not bad, especially with 3 E's to come. But if my opponent doesn't bingo, he's likely to block this spot. Quite a tight end game. The most likely bingo lane for my opponent is column 14, sticking an S or an I on the end of art. But if my opponent bingos there, he's going to be worried about giving me a scoring spot in column 15, and my 22-point lead is quite useful. Because if he plays in column 14, he won't even get the play doubled, so he might get around 65 points. And then I could score 40 or 50 in column 15 and we'd still be level. My opponent taking a while with this move, which suggests he may have a blank and be looking for a bingo. I'm looking around in case I've overlooked any bingo lanes for my rack, which is quite bingo-y. I'm also looking at the longer letter sets, but none of them are particularly good. Yeah, there go both of the blanks. 63 points. My opponent's now 41 points ahead. There are 5 tiles in the bag. My opponent's provided no floaters. BYS takes nothing after it. What he has done is opened up 2 triple word squares, and there's also the one up here. So my opponent could have blue in column 8 for 39. So I'm thinking about keeping a lane open. I mean, keeping a hotspot open. There are 3 triple word squares I'm looking at. A8, H15 and O15. If I played down here, I'd be taking out 2 of them, whereas I'd quite like to leave 2 available. I'm wondering if I have a 6-letter play down here, which places my V on this double letter square. Invert doesn't work. I don't have the tiles for Levant. I could play Vlei across here, and I think I will. It keeps 2 of the hot spots open. It retains quite a bingo-y rack. Rackley, which could make a bingo with the G. It's 33 points is quite good, so I'm going to be 8 points behind. So I'm an underdog here, but it's not over yet. Can't see anything with the G. Or through the V of Vly. Can't see a 7 with this rack. But my opponent could have 2 W's and a U, so he might not have a good rack. What I'm lacking is a scoring tile. I've got Erodent on my rack, and I've blocked it with Vly. It would have played in column 13 or column 15. So that's annoying. Do I have anything through the L? Well, that's Rondelette and Redolent. Neither works. No tiles left now, and I'm 47 points behind. Interesting. I wonder what would have happened if I'd played Vly up here. Well, I guess my opponent would have played blue. So no big deal there. I've got 4 minutes on my clock. The bag's empty. I need to bingo to win. That's not going to happen, I don't think. Erodent. Well, only an S hooks isomere. I certainly don't have anything beginning with the G. And I don't think there are any other bingo lanes to consider. So I think I'll just play Rodent down here. $29 points. I haven't looked for spots to play my E, but I'm sure there are quite a few. So I'm just scanning the board for what works. There's 4 up here. 5. 10 points. 4 minutes on my clock. Actually, let me just take that back. I'm not totally sure about jointured. Yeah. Just looking to see if anything beats my play, and I don't think it does. So just wait for my opponent to formally end the game. Which he does. And the final score is 379 to me, 411 to my opponent, a winning margin of 32 points. So well done to my opponent. Let's see what I missed. It was me to go fast. Non-gay for 28. Probably pretty good of the longer plays. But the shorter play also has merit. My opponent's rack, he plays Ob. I had this rack and I played Grands, and that looks fine. My opponent plays Cat. And this was my rack. And I think this is where I played Arna for 11. And you can see the problem here. Low scores and poor rack leaves. Probably need analysis to see just how inferior, if at all, Arna was. Horrible rack for my opponent. He changed. Now, I had Horson. Couldn't see anywhere for it. And there was nowhere. Good, I'm glad I didn't miss a bingo. And I played HE for 19. Keeping ANORS. I could have played Hogan for 18. I think I prefer Hogan. Although it's a shorter rack leave, the O is pretty non-bingo-y, and ERS is quite robust. Probably not much between those. Nice play by my opponent, 54 points. This was my rack, and I missed a bingo. Rosarian and Aurarian, so well done if you spotted either of those through the A of Zaxes. That's a poor miss, that's quite a high probability bingo. Instead I played Norrie for 32, keeping ARS, which is probably the best of the non-bingo-y plays. My opponent's rack, he plays Felt. And I played a Farah for 30 and that looks fine. My opponent plays 2. And what did I do here? Nothing that I can see. I played Gucks and Ags. And C4 I could have played Pucker. Yeah, 28. And Scuporg at C3, which would have been quite a funky word to play. Instead I played Gucks for 18. And I think the top moves here are better than that. My opponent plays 5. And I have Gid up for 39, which looks good. My opponent plays Aim. And this was my rack. Knitch. Okay, that would have been pretty nice. And Kimchi. Instead I played for 35. Which actually is fine. CIINT is not a bad rack leave. My opponent's rack. He plays Keg. I play Inviter. That looks fine. My opponent has the blank at this stage. Does he have a bingo? No. He plays Join, and then I play K-John, which looks best. Now, does my opponent have a bingo? He doesn't. He plays Yo, and now this is a tricky rack. And I played Jointure for 16, and all the other moves score less. So I suspect there's not very much between these plays. A15, Evert. Not sure about that. As in, not sure it's better than Jointure. So, this is my opponent's rack, and he has ISO Mia, which was a good spot, and plenty of other options available. And this is my rack. And I'm thinking I probably should have played at the top here. Because if my opponent plays in column 15, there'll still be a bingo lane in column 13, probably. And if he plays across row H, then he'll be providing 1 floater, or 2 floaters. So, possibly Vly was a mistake for that reason. Whoops. Anyway, it's what I played. My opponent's got blue, and I have Erodent. Nowhere for it. I thought for a moment Ragstone was a bingo. It's not. I played Rodent for 29. Not much between these top plays. My opponent plays 8 for 31, which was a nice play. And finally, I play Wee for 10, which was best. So a pretty dour struggle. It came down to the who got the blanks and the bingo down, and that went to my opponent. So well done to him. But it was neck and neck until that point. So I hope you enjoyed watching that game, and I will see you next time.